All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for December 19th, 2023. Start with the hybrid swing portfolio. So we're looking at 30-minute charts, beginning with Alcoa. The yellow box represents today's high and low, and then the duration of the day trade. We had a gap up, which took out the peak of the RL10. So that's an emerging dragon. Get it in the usual way. I don't want any overnight risk on it, so on that much risk, we capture 2R. And this thing is postured in the zero state, ready to go in either direction tomorrow. The metals were definitely in play today. No surprise. That was our focus sector. AI, this was a roller coaster ride. There was the gap up and kept going, so that's a COTA 2 entry. Here's the lows. There's the successful trade that makes this a COTA 2 entry. Standard risk. It runs all the way up, makes a new 30-day high as it starts rolling over. Exit here for 1, 2, 3, 4R. It continues to fail. I catch it at the edge of the dragon. Standard risk. It sells off down to the Bollinger Band mean and starts to reverse. Cut it. 3R. So that turned out to be a nice little 7R sleigh ride. AI is still in play. Amazon, no trade. Caterpillar, let me go back to Amazon just for a second. Yeah, that was no trade. Caterpillar, gap and go. I like the Main Street trade. That's the industrial companies that are going to benefit from the rate cut environment for next year. This was an emerging dragon, an easy one. It cleared all the previous resistance, and standard risk for 2R, going to hold that one. Cliff Natural Resources is next. Similar, that's a COTA 2 continuation. Standard entry, standard risk. It closed pretty well. We're holding about an R. I'll be watching that one close. I usually like more of a cushion in terms of markets money. I thought about this one here. I was ready to go early. I waited for the RL10 to break through. So we took the entry here. Standard risk to the PSAR. And that one returned about 4R and looking good. So that's a nice cushion to hold. So I'll be ready to add to that one tomorrow or cut it if it starts showing weakness on CVS. Or on Disney, excuse me. No, that was CVS. This is Disney. Disney COTA 2 entry as it crossed the Bollinger Band mean. Then turned to summer, so that felt pretty good. So I'm going to hold that one with 3R overnight. Dish. Took 1R on a COTA 2. Devon Energy. Let's see, I think there's, yeah. So this was a COTA 2, a 1, 2, 3 entry on the COTA 2 rather than waiting. I like getting energy a little earlier, and that was a fractional. Electronic Arts, we covered the short from the collapsing dragon here. That was a multi-day trade, and it just felt like it had run out of fear, and it was holding support right where we would expect. So that was a stop and reverse, and I don't like holding that one overnight. I would redo that one if I was going to do it again, and in retrospect, just cash it for a scratch and wait and see tomorrow. But I was in an optimistic mood, and I felt like this was the beginning of possibly a very orderly reversal to make the cup, which would bring it back to 142. We'll see how that goes. Emerging markets, caught a 2 for an R. Ethereum, we closed the Friday play on the 123 entry for an R. Mexico, this was the second position. Sorry, this should be here. We got the second position in, and then that started to fail. So I wanted to keep that one in the money and just exited the whole position. Brazil, just a continuation, letting the one position ride, and I like the way that resumed. So that's in good shape. Intel, holding a tech leader with an R. IP, took a measured short on the collapsing dragon, gave us about half an R. The fact that that's not collapsing further is now part of that Main Street improvement trade. So I'm actually looking to get long on that one the rest of this week. Real estate, this was the start of, I think, the next leg up, but we could only get a fraction out of it. Coke, the industrial trade, again, that just for half an hour. Again, I treat that as evidence to the upside. Regional banks did not collapse enough, so we just basically scratched that short at the open. Mattel, loss of a half an hour here on the failure to follow through. McDonald's, scratched. Merck, no trade. Microsoft, scratched. Marijuana, closed the short position here on failure to fail further, and that was about 4R, and that's setting up for a direction neutral trade tomorrow. Nvidia, no trade. We closed the long here. It was up about 2R and then gapped down, so we ended up losing half an hour on the adverse gap, unfortunately. Clean energy, caught a 2, holding 1R. Rivian, no trade. The S&P is continuing to motor north. That's strong. Treasuries, stabilized. Tesla tried the caught a 2 long but scratched. No follow through. Walmart, we closed. I had 2 positions long. This started to sell off, so I wanted to keep that in the money, so we exited everything. And then it did not fail further, and then on resumption, when the R10 came out of the dragon, I re-entered one position, and that's holding about 3R into the close. And then U.S. Steel beginning the decay, just monitoring that and all of the metals. Sniper trades of the day. This is Mexico. So these are all 3-minute charts. There's a hybrid frog entry off the bottom. 3R exiting after the second leg up at the edge of the dragon. Caught a 2 re-entry, scratch. Crossing the VWAP, that's a collapsing dragon short. 2R on a PSAR flip exit. Continuation short on collapsing dragon for a half an hour. So about 1, 2, 3, about 5.5 hours. Here's AI on the 3-minute. Gap up and go. 4-hour battle drill. Standard exit at the skin of the dragon. Collapsing dragon short. Second position. Standard exit at the PSAR flip for about 7R on that one, about 7 on the first one. So that was a monster trade. And then 1R on the final. And that's climbing the wall of worry and sliding down the hill. And it's AI is in play. And the early move is a nice one. But the follow through in the afternoon was very good. I waited until this thing was decisive in terms of failing below the VWAP. So you can notice when it failed to the VWAP, it spent a half an hour or an hour monkeying around in here until it finally opted lower. And then that was the place to put the second position on. This is Alcoa. OR3, then it broke above the previous week's VWAP close. So I waited to here to get the entry in. Standard risk box. Second position on Akata 2. Standard exit. I gave it all the way to the Bollinger Band main. That was a relaxed trade in the metals. I was giving the metals a little more room to work today. This is Cliff, also the steel company and metal. Gap and Go, standard risk. Everything rising, standard exit for 4R. And then Caterpillar, the last one. Big gap up, OR3 entry long. Everything favorable, VWAP rising, river rising. One nice position in there to support the swing, and that's about 4R. So very orderly moves today with relaxed stops and management. I wanted to get more positions in to see which ones were going to work with this favorable trading regime that we inherited from last week. So I didn't want to overly focus on just one. To the traders. Hamad, wasn't much movement, grinding along in the Kiwi. Is able to grind a favorable result out of AMD in the tech space. Grinding, I think this was still some too much playing on the long side on a declining symbol that's below a VWAP, which is also in decline. I think these you should be favoring the short side positions here rather than the long side. In Boeing, shifted his focus here in time to pick up a couple directional trades to make the day positive. This is, I think, Kevin. Really nice work on the Kata 2 here on DIA. The earlier moves are the ones that work bigger as opposed to the ones that are really grinding. Especially in DIA, my success has come from earlier entries. But that's a good 1.1. This is an example of getting that earlier move. This is in Mexico. Nails it. That big selling bar there was kind of a signal, and it's had 1, 2, 3 legs up. So catching that right there is excellent. That's worth a shot. This, to me, would be a stop and reverse, and certainly that's a stop and reverse. And then you get to play that thing all the way down, as I showed on the other sniper trade of the day. And then my brother using the 3-day, 9-day. Here's the 9-day markup in ENPH, Enphase Energy. And he gets the earlier entries on these and then shifts to the 9-day for longer term management. So he's used markets money to get the positions in with risk managed all along the way. And what's not always obvious on these is how big those moves are. This is a move from 85 to 135 since November. So this is just a monster move. And that's with the $10 risk box right there. So that's a 5 or 6R already. That makes this about 4R and this 2R. So he's managing this one nicely. And the beauty of this is that the long-term guys are just starting to come into play, because on the 9-day, when you get the PSAR flip, that signals a shift in the long-term buy and holders, changing their orientation. And now you think there's a lot of room for this thing to go all the way up to 190, 230, 270, and 310 based on long-term pricing targets. So this is one that he can manage this trade in a minute a week over the next 40 weeks. And he's already got a really strong cushion in, because he's able to catch the turning point while this thing is still fresh and volatile. So really nice work from my brother there.
Just a quick thing, guys. I don't tell people what to trade, when to trade, how much, but please take a look at this on the longer term. I think you'll like it. That's all.
I thought I had that thing open. Just a minute. We'll get the reports up in a second. All right, let's shift to the daily report now. On the 150-day look back, oops, that's the sniper trades, right? Come on, dummy. On the 150-day look back, this was a vote to the upside today. We've had a couple days of higher lows. That's really looking like it wants to get through 475. And then this is the all-time high. I mean, what's not to love? Whereas this thing down here, that was almost 18% ago. That's quite a move in 30 days. Historical move. Catching 100% of the fundamentalist traders by surprise. It's tough. Small range day today, grinding upward. That's good news. Bullish normal, overbought on every dimension, favorable volatility, clear leaders among the conservative American U.S. market large caps, and finance, American Express, J.P. Morgan, Travelers, and then the Diamonds and Caterpillar. That's who the leaders are. Big breakouts in Travelers, Morgan, DuPont, and Caterpillar. Great American company. In the ETFs, just about everything breaking out large. Yeah, gotta love the signal on DIA. That's just continuing to smash its way north, and that's joined by the Qs and the S&P. and by metals and mining, not a surprise. The healthcare sector is still lagging and is framing up nicely. Procter and Gamble, United Health, Johnson and Johnson, some nice ones in there. A dozen in the squeeze, including Tesla, Microsoft, the Qs, and XLK. Boy, is that ever something to concentrate on. Do not be surprised to see gathering momentum here this week as we increase the days of summer and we see strength in just about every possible direction except for the expected profit taking in U.S. steel. The best traders are these here, the top 10, based on a combination of consistency of daily moves and a high average range percentage, favorable directional volatility. So, all right, that's everything for today. We'll get this published and posted. The weekend research presentations from Jeff and Sunal from the UK are worth millions. The ideas in there are really amazing. I've got a meeting later this week with some hedge funds that want to take a look at some of the things we covered, and they probably want me to do some proprietary stuff with them. But the main ideas are expressed in those videos and in the Q&A session and my discussion. Absolutely worth your attention. I'll be presenting the basics of sniper setups, framing, and trading tomorrow to Chris White's Edge Raider community of practice. And we'll be talking a little bit about back testing and swing trading. So a lot of interesting things on the agenda. Take good care, and we'll see you tomorrow.